Hi guys, good morning. So all of you are there. Good. So we'll start right away. Share my screen. Right. So we were seeing IPAC naming. Right. We were almost the verge of completing it. I told you that we'll just do a couple of problems on cyclic structures and then move on. Right. Okay. So let me give you this. Yeah. Can you name this compound? Quick. Again, everybody do it. I might ask a single person to name the compound. After I ask you, don't take time. Don't take time. Now it'll take time. And when I ask you, just tell me you don't know, you do, you know. That's it. Okay, fine. Let me ask someone. Okay. Divya, are you there, Kana?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Can you tell me the answer for this question? What is the name of this compound?
So is it 5-ethyl cyclopent 3,4N 1 one?
Why 3 comma 4? I have only one double bond. Okay, fine. We'll check. Right. So,
Sorry, sir,
thank you.
3N.
Okay, 3N. Okay, fine. We'll check. Right. Fine. So the maximum priority. Thank you, Divya. Right. So the maximum priority here goes to obviously ketone. Right. The double bond duo has the maximum priority here. Right. And the next priority has to go to, what is the next priority, guys?
Ketone. Double bond, sir.
Yes, the ketone is the first priority. Double bond is the second priority. Yes, good.
Yes.
Right. So I have to make sure that this is getting the lowest possible number. So no doubt I have to put number one in this. Right. Now I have two choices. Now either I can go this way or I can go this way. Right. So we'll check what happens if you go both sides. Say one here, two here, three here. Right. Or say one here, two here, and three here. Right. So what you're seeing is either way I go, I'm going to get 3 for the double bond, right? Okay. So again, I have to look at the next priority, right? So both side, I'm getting 3 for double bond. So now to look at the next priority. Next priority is obviously going to be C2H5, right? So that now obviously that's how we can say that if I go from this side, I'm getting actually I'll be getting 6 or 5 for C2H5. But if I go from this side, I'm getting 2, right? And that's the lowest possible number I can get. So now I can name it pretty easy. So now we'll have to go for the prefix part and I have to make sure that I follow alphabetical order. So it is going to be 2 ethyl and I have 3 methyl, right? 3 methyl, and then I have this cyclopent, right? This is cyclopent, and I have in the third carbon atom, I have double bond, so N, and at last I have one double bond. So 1, 4. That's the answer to this question. I think you got almost right. Yeah, good. Right. So yeah, it's 2-ethyl, 3-methyl, cyclopent, 3N, 1-one. I think everybody should have gotten it. Right. Fine. We'll go to the next question. Right. And I want to tell you one thing, guys. Maybe you might questions or you might not get questions. So what I'm trying to tell you is, say, if you have a ketone in the ring, it's fine, no problem, right? But if you have a carboxylic acid or say CHO, okay, for example, if this is the compound. Now tell me, what is the name of this compound? Anybody? What is the name of this compound? What do you think is the name of the compound?
Cyclobenzenol.
It's not. No. This is if I put benzene, what I should get a double bond here. I mean, alternated. This is not benzene. This is cyclohexane only.
Cyclohexanol, sir.
Okay, that's what we think. So it should be cyclohexanal. That's what generally people say, right? But people, right? If you put cyclohexanal, how many carbon atoms you're accounting for? Hex means what? 6 carbon atoms, right? But how many carbon atoms I have in the structure?
7.
7, right? So obviously cyclohexanal cannot be the name of this compound. These are some little assumptions, right? So now how you have to call it, right? So since you are not able to accommodate this CHO in the main chain, right? I mean, sorry. Since you are not able to accommodate this CHO in the main chain, you have to do something for that, right? So whenever you are not able to do it, that is, this happens only for two things. One is for CHO, another is for COOH, carboxylic acids, right? So at those times, you have to use the suffix carbaldehyde. Okay, so if you ask me, sir, how is the name of this compound? The name of this compound is cyclohexane, right? And it's going to be, you have to end it with carbaldehyde. Right? Say if it was COOH, instead of this, if I had COOH, now that would have been called cyclohexane carboxylic acid. Just instead of oic acid, if you just put this carb, that means that there's a carbon atom. That's what I'm trying to say, right? So if it was COOH, it would have been cyclohexane carboxylic acid. Right? It's going to be carboxylic acid, or if it is going to be an aldehyde, it's going to be carbaldehyde. This will happen only for aldehydes and carboxylic acids. The rest all are fine. Okay, right? Say, remember this also. Now, this can happen in these kind of situations. Say, for example, if you have something like this, if you have, say, oh God. Why is it happening? Okay, COOH, CH, COOH, right? COOH. Now, if you have this compound, right? Now, you see what happens. Now, however you go, right, or whatever you do, you will be missing at least one, or at least one. You will be missing one carboxylic acid, which cannot be included in the main chain. Say, for example, if you take this, this will be missed. If you take this, this will be missed. Or if you take this will be missed, right? So however you go, you are going to miss one of the COOHs in the main chain, right? So again, in this case, you have to use this carboxylic acid. Right? Now, how will I use it? Now, just remember this. Just forget that these three are there. Just forget that these three are there. Now, check other than these three carboxylic groups, how many other carbon atoms are there? So you can see that there is going to be only one carbon atom. Right? So now how will I write it? Since it now what you wrote here, you wrote there are 6 carbon atoms in the ring, so you wrote cyclohexane, right? So here, since there's only one carbon atom, you will write it as methane. Right? You will write it as methane, right? Now you can see there is only one carbon atom, and in that carbon atom only I have all these three groups, right? So I have to specify the numbers also. So it's going to be methane 1 comma 1 comma 1. There's only one carbon atom, right? Methane 1 comma 1 comma 1. Now obviously I have to end it with carboxylic acid, but you have to mention how many also are there. So it is going to be tri-carboxylic acid. So hope you understand. Now, if the same thing would have happened for CHO also, I can put CHO everywhere instead of the COOH. In that case, it would have been tricarbaldehyde. Same thing, methane 1 comma 1 comma 1, tricarbaldehyde. Now, in this case, since it is acid, it's going to be carboxylic acid. That's it, right? Methane 1 comma 1 comma 1, tricarboxylic acid. Okay, right? Fine. So, like maybe one last question, guys. We'll just wind up with this naming part. Guys, everybody understood, right? When you have to use carbaldehyde and carboxylic acid, everybody understood?
Yes, sir.
Right? I hope everybody understood. Okay, fine. So, one last question. We'll wind up, people. That's it. Done for the day. I mean, done with naming. Okay, quick. This is the last question. Name it. Is there a new student today? 1 second. Yeah, Pallavi. Is it? Are you there, Pallavi?
Yes, sir.
Are you a new student?
Yes, sir.
Ah, okay. I didn't know this. Okay, welcome. Right. Which school are you from, Kana?
Sir?
Which school are you from?
San Academy, Pallikarne.
Palikarne, San Academy. Okay, okay. This is your first class or attended
Yes.
already physics and math?
I have attended physics class, chemistry.
Okay.
This is first.
First class. Okay, okay. So you can go through all the videos. Like if whenever we have completed almost so many chapters. No issues. You have all the videos in the drive. You will be able to go through it. And whenever you have doubts, you can always ask me. Right? You can get my number from your friends. If you know your classmates, they have my number. Right? You can always text me in WhatsApp, ask me your doubts. I'll be there. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Right. Good. Oops, sorry. Yes, guys. Anybody wants to try the name?
1 minute, sir.
Yeah.
I just need one clarification.
Yeah.
Aldehyde is given more priority over ketone, right, sir?
Definitely. Definitely. Yes, aldehyde has more priority than ketone. Yes.
And I think I did, sir. Not sure.
Tell me.
Sir.
I got 5
second.
hydroxy,
Okay.
2 oxo, cyclohex, 5N, 1 comma 4 dicarbaldehyde.
Okay. Okay. I think it should be correct. Someone said, sir, you want to answer something? Someone
No,
else
sir.
is
The
saying
same.
same thing. Okay. Okay. Fine. Cool. Right. So obviously, as aldehyde has more priority. Okay. And next priority obviously goes to the double bond, that is ketone. Right. So either you can start from here, that is 1, or you can start from here, which is 1. Right. And if you put 1 here, I'll put 2 here. Right. And if I put 1 here, 2 comes here and 3 comes here. So obviously now I have to make sure that this also gets the lowest number. Right. So obviously it's better to start from this side. Okay, fine. So we'll keep that in mind. Right. Okay. So, right. Okay. So I put 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 and 6, obviously. Okay, whatever, 6 is not coming. Cool. 6 carbon atoms. So now any prefix part. Yes, there is a prefix part, and obviously here also there is a prefix part. Again, how does that alphabetical order? So it's going to be 5 hydroxy, right? 5 hydroxy, and in 2 I have oxo, right? And then anything else? Yeah, double bond is there. Now this is cyclohex. And where is the double bond? 4, no, 5. 5N, right? This is 5N. And at last you have in 1 and 4, you have aldehydes, but again, you cannot use al. We already know we have to use carbaldehyde, just like I told you. So it is going to be cyclohexane 5N 1, 1,4 dicarbaldehyde is the name. Yes, I think this is what you told me. I think it's correct, perfectly correct, right? So this is the name of the compound. Right, guys. So I think now anything given to you, at least for your level, right? Anything given to you, you must be able to answer the questions. Very easy, right? You just have to remember the rules. You just have to remember the priority order and the suffix and prefix part, and done. You are set for this IUPAC naming, right? Okay, guys, that's about IUPAC naming. I would say one part is over, right? Actually, this is a small part. We have so much to see. Okay, fine. So we'll move on, right? So the next topic, right? The next topic is why is it happening like this? I really have to change my stylus. The touch is not an issue in my computer. It's the stylus. Okay. Right. So isomerism, I think you would have had some glimpses of this in your 10th class, right? So how do you define isomerism, people? What is the definition of isomerism? Anybody wants to tell me? Why
the same chemical formula but different structures?
Okay, it's not chemical formula, it's molecular formula, right? Fine. So it is the phenomenon, right? It is a phenomena where so many molecules will have same molecular formula, right? But they will have different structures, right? But I would say that is not the end of it, right? That is not the complete definition of isomerism. Please check down the definition, guys. I'm going to give you a definition for isomerism. Right. It is the phenomenon of two or more compounds. It is the phenomenon of two or more compounds having same molecular formula, but different structures, having same molecular formula, but different structures, or different orientations of atoms, in the 3D space. Okay, I'll repeat the statement. It is the phenomenon of two or more compounds having same molecular formula, but different structures or different orientations of atoms in the 3D space. That's it. That's the way you define isomerism, right? So I think the first part you already know, same molecular formula, but different structural formula. And the other one, the 3D orientation, we'll see. What is that? Okay. Right. So let's just give you a insight about an example of isomerism. Say, for example, if I have a molecular formula as C4H10O, right? Now for this, I will be able to write so many structures, right? Say one structure can be Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. I have to remove this. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Right, there are 4 carbon atoms. Right. So now you can see that see. Okay. Okay. I'm just giving you an example. So we will not go to the details. Say this is one structure. Right. Now another structure can be, say, an OH here. Right. Say another structure can be okay. This is okay. This is oxygen 1, 2, 3, 4. Right now again, this is what is called as ethers. If you don't know. Right, these are what are called as ethers. Now you can see for the same formula, I can write 2 different alcohols, or I can even write different like entirely different functional group itself. Right, so this is what is called as your isomerism. Same molecular formula, but you see so many compounds having the same molecular formula but different structures. Right, okay, fine. So now there are going to be different types of isomerism. Right, hopefully you should have come across in your 11th class now when they taught you. Right, so when I look into it, like what are the types of isomerism? Right, right, now there can be 2 major classifications. Right, in isomerism, right, there can be 2 major classifications. Right, so from the definition itself, I'll be able to tell you what are the 2 categories. One category is same molecular formula but different structure. Now other thing is when I gave you an OR, right, same molecular formula but different orientations of atoms in the 3D space. Right, so both of these 2 will give me 2 different types of isomerism, 2 broad classifications of isomerism. Right, so one is what is called as your structural isomerism. Right, the one is what is called as structural isomerism. The other one is what is called as oh god, stereoisomerism. Okay, STEREO, stereoisomerism. Right, so structural isomerism and stereoisomerism. Right, okay, there is under structural isomerism again I have so many types. Right, say they can be position isomerism, and they have chain isomerism. I have metamerism, right? Metamerism, chain isomerism. I have tautomerism, right? Tautoisomerism, or it's called tautomerism, position chain, and I have last one under this to be functional isomerism. Actually, I have one more. We can see that also, but I don't think it's included. But we can see it's not a big deal. It's called ring chain isomerism. Right? So all these are included. Okay, position, chain, metamerism, tautomerism, functional isomerism, ring chain isomerism. Okay, fine. Now when I go to stereo, there are 2 types. Right? One is what is called as geometrical isomerism, right? The other one is what is called as optical isomerism. Right, another one is called as optical isomerism. So in your 11th class, you will be seeing all of this, right? And you'll be talking about geometrical isomerism. Optical isomerism, we'll speak about it in 12th class, in your first chapter of organic. Okay, so at that time we'll look into optical isomerism. All the other isomerisms we'll see in this class, that is in your 11th class itself, you'll see. Okay, right, Fine, we'll move on. First, we'll talk about structural isomerism, right? One by one, we'll speak position, chain, meta, tautomerism, functional ring chain, everything we'll see. And then we'll go to geometry. Okay, right, fine. So maybe I'll start with position isomerism. Okay, fine. Now, guys, what you have to understand is in structural isomerism, it's a little what to say. It's same molecular formula but different structure. That's the whole point of it. Correct, right? So when I take position isomerism, right? When I take position isomerism, I'm going to have same molecular formula, obviously different structure, and how the structure is going to be different is the question now, right? Now the structure would be different in the position of branches. Right? In the position of the branches, where are the branches present? Right? Or I can tell you, they are actually going to differ in the numbers for the prefixes. Say you will write one hydroxy, right? But same molecular formula, another compound, I have 2 hydroxy, right? So the numbers of the prefixes again will be different. Obviously, when the position of the branches changes, obviously the numbers given to the prefixes will also change, isn't it? So that is how you identify position isomers. Okay, now let me take some good examples. Right. Okay, now let me start something which is very very simple, right? Say if I take C5H12, I take this compound, right? C5H12 I take, okay? Okay, now there can be so many things, right? We are concentrating on position isomers, so let me concentrate on position isomers only. Okay, say one, okay, this is, okay, fine. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4 carbon atoms. Now say I'll put a methyl group somewhere. Okay, actually this doesn't have position isomer. Okay, I'll take some other example. Actually, right. So I'll take C4H10, the previous example which we took in the first. Right, let me take C4H10O. Right. So in this, you can see that I can have, obviously, it's going to be one OH, right? So, okay, there are 4 carbon atoms, right? So now I can put the OH in the first position. Again, this side also I can keep, but any side, it's going to be 1, right? This is the position number 1, right? So you'll write, how do you write it? Cyclobutan 1-ol, you write, or 1 cyclo, sorry, what cyclo? Sorry, 1 butanol, that's what you write, right? But for the same molecular formula, I can write the OH here also, right? Now, how will you call it? You'll call it as butan 2-ol, isn't it? This is 1-ol. This is in the first position, right? And now this is going to be in the position number 2, right? So only in the case of numbers, if you see, actually it's not only prefix, you can even put it as suffix, right? But what you have to understand is, if the numbers alone are changing, nothing else is changing. So you can see, it's again, the root word is not changing, it's still but. Only for both of them it is but and but, right? Both of them are alcohols only, right? Just that the position of OH is changing. In the first case, and there is in the first position, second case, second position. This is what is called as position isomerism, right? Now I can even give you another example. If you take cyclic structures, okay, bear with it, right? Say okay, fine. So if I put one ethyl group, or let me take a methyl group itself. Why am I trying so much? Okay, one methyl group here and here. This is one case, right? Same molecular formula. So if same molecular formula, I can write this as one here, another here, right? So what is this thing? It will be 1, 2 here, 1 and 2, right? Here it will be 1, 2, 3, and 4. So it will be 1, 4 here, except everything is same. Again, you can see only the numbers are changing, right? Or if you see only the numbers are changing, nothing else. Is again cyclohex, dimethyl, and everything is same except for the numbers. And this again is a position isomer. One more example I can give you. Say a double bond here. Now how many carbon? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 carbon. This is butane or but 1e, right? Now same compound. I can put the double bond here. Now this will become but 2e, isn't it? You can see first position, second position, the carbon and the double bond is there, right? So hope you're understanding what do you mean by position isomer. Same molecular formula, right? But in structures, different structures. How different structure? The difference is going to come in the position of the functional groups or say branches, okay, or double bond, whatever it is. In general, I can say groups, right? In the position of the groups, if you see a difference, right, that is what is called as your position isomer. Okay, so I hope everybody would have gotten a picture, right? Now we'll move on to the next one, right? The next one, the first one is position, right? The second one I'm going to take is chain isomerism. Okay, now in this, what is going to change? Again, same molecular formula, different structure. How is it different? The structure is because I am going to have change in root word. Okay, now if you see, there are two molecular formulas, right? But one of them is having a root word as hex. Another one is having a root word of pent, but same molecular formula. Right? So that will come under chain isomerism. Let me take an example. Right? This is root word, guys. Okay, fine. Say now let me take C5H10. Okay, so if I take C5H10, right? So one thing I can draw for sure is a straight chain compound, isn't it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, five carbon atoms, right? Normal not cyclopentane, pentane, right? Normal pentane. This is right. Now for the same structure C5H, I mean for the same molecular formula C5H10, instead of having this is pent, right? Now I will put 4 carbon atoms only. Right, then what I have to do, I have to account for one more carbon atom. That one more carbon atom can come as a branch, right? Okay, now you can ask me, sir, can I have position isomers in this, right? How can I have position isomers? Only if I change in number, right? That means if I put the methyl group here, is it going to be any different or same? Same or different? If I put the methyl group having here, if I put it in this carbon atom, will it be same or different? Same or different? It is there. Okay, everybody is there. Oh, there is some in the chat. It should be branched, these compounds. Okay, I don't know what you're telling, Pranav. No issues. Okay, so what I'm asking is here, you see there's a methyl group. Okay, starting from first, this is normal pentane. What did I do? I reduced the chain length to 4 by adding a methyl group as a branch. Right, now what I am asking you is, if instead of methyl group here, if I put the methyl group in this carbon atom, is it going to be same or different?
Same only, sir.
Same only, right? Now how will you name this? Now whenever you get this confusion, people, right, whenever you see confusions like this, what you have to do, name the compound, right? So how will you name this compound? It is going to be 2-methylbutane, right? Now if I put the methyl group here, right, then also it is going to be 2-methylbutane only, right? So whenever you see the names are same, that means they are same compounds. That is how you identify. Okay, that's the trick. Whenever you have confusion whether it's going to be same or different compound, name the two compounds, and if the names are different, then they are different compounds. If the names are same, then they are same compounds. right? Okay, right. So let me draw a structure again properly for you, right? So now I have the pent as the root word. Now if I change it to 4, I put a methyl group. Here, right? Now this becomes bute, right? This becomes bute, right? But still the formula is going to be C5H10. Actually, I'm
Won't,
doing
sir. I don't
Wait.
think it will be C5H10.
Exactly. That is what I was about to tell you. It's not C5H10, it is C5H12. Right? It's C5H12. Now, if it was C5H10, I should have had a double bond. How do you understand this, guys? First thing, like not only for this question, in any isomerism question, okay, the first thing you will ever do, right, is to check whether you have any double or triple bonds. Okay, now how will you account for it? How will you search for it? Now hope you remember, if I have alkenes, they will have CnH2n plus 2 as the general formula. So you can see C5H12 like this. If you have, that means they don't have any double or triple bonds, right? But if I have the general formula for alkenes, I know to be CnH2n. So last time when I had C5H10, like that was wrong structure. This is not the structure for that, right? So obviously now that means they might have a double bond. They will have a double bond. Okay, right? And the last, this is for alkenes, and I know for alkynes, how is it? Right? It's CnH2n minus 2. Yeah, good. Right? It's CnH2n minus 2. That means you have there are two possibilities if you have this kind of structure. Either you have two double bonds in different places, or you can have one triple bond in only one place. Hope you understand, right? Now, if at all you see that now it is matching with none of this, right? If at all it's matching with none of this, then say for example, if I give you a compound like C6 H C6H8. Oh my God. Okay, if I give you C6H8, right? Now, Jeff, definitely it doesn't match with any of the CnH2n would be C6H12 or C6H14, or if it is going to be this CnH2n minus 2, then it will be C6H10, right? But when you have this C6H8, that means what? What is the probability? What can you comment about if I just give you this formula? What can I tell about the compound?
It's alkyne.
It's an alkyne. No, don't talk in that way, right? Say I want the answer in terms of say number of triple bonds or number of double bonds, something like that. What are the possibilities? That's what I'm asking.
Two triple bonds, sir. Two triple bonds, maybe.
Okay, see, fine. So if it was C6, oh God. If it was C6H10, for example, then you can easily say that there is one C triple bond C. Okay, there is, okay, a little bring it up. Right, so there is definitely going to be one C triple bond C. That's what we can say. Right, now what I have here is C6H8, correct, or one double bond, or it can be two C double bond Cs. In this case, when I have C6H10, either of the two possibilities. Right, now what I see is there is a hydrogen deficiency of 2 from this. If I go to this, right, I see that there are 10 carbon atoms and there are eight carbon atoms, hydrogen atoms, and there are 8 hydrogen atoms in this case. right? Now, how is it possible? Now, please understand, guys. Please understand. If you look at the pattern of what you're observing, if I have one double bond, say from alkene I start, not from alkene, from a normal alkane which doesn't have any double bond, I start from there, right? Now, there is no double bond. If you introduce a double bond, right? If you introduce a double bond, two hydrogen atoms are lost, isn't it? That's why from 2n plus 2, it just became 2n, right? Now, if you add one more double bond, right, again, you see there are two more hydrogen atoms getting lost, right? So what you have to understand is, right, how, like, for each and every double bond getting added, right, or in a best words, for each and every pi bond which is getting added, right, you lose two hydrogens. Okay, for each and every pi bond which is getting added, for each pi bond, hope you all know what is pi bond, right? For each pi bond, right, you lose two hydrogen atoms, right? Two hydrogen atoms, right? Fine. So now how will you check for this then? Like, it should have been C6H14. Okay, that should have been the alkane. Correct. That should have been the alkane. Now, if I had one double bond, this will become 12, right? So this is for, and if I had one more double bond, this will become 10, or not double bond, I should say pi bond. So one pi bond, it will become 12, another pi bond becomes 10, another pi bond becomes 8, right? So how many pi bonds are there in this molecule? 1, 2, 3. 3 pi bonds are there. Again, the 3 pi bonds can be of any combination, right? What are 3 combinations? Say, when I say 3 pi bonds, right? When I say 3 pi bonds, what can be the combination? Combination can be, I can have 3, sorry, single C double bond C's, right? That means they have 3 sigma, 3 pi bonds, you can see, right? Or I can have one
triple bond and
one
two.
triple bond and one double bond. That's it. One triple bond. Well, this accounts for 2 pi bonds, right? 2 of the pi bond, 1, 2. Right? There's one more pi bond, so I can have one C double bond C. Okay. So either this combination or this combination, either way you will have 3 pi bonds. So this C6H8 can be a combination of any of these. Okay, so this particular thing, what we are trying to do is what is called as degree of unsaturation. That's the term you have to remember, right? It's called degree of degree of unsaturation. Basically, degree of unsaturation means how many pi bonds I have in the molecule. For this particular thing, C6H8, how many pi bonds are there? 3 pi bonds are there. So the degree of unsaturation for this compound is 3. Okay, very simple. How do you calculate the degree of unsaturation? Whatever the compound given to you, try to make the alkane of that. Obviously, how will you make the alkane? Depending on how many carbon atoms I have. Right? If there are 6 carbon atoms, for me to form an alkane, I should have 14 hydrogen atoms. If there are 14 hydrogen atoms, degree of unsaturation is 0. No pi bonds, right? So for each and every pi bond introduced, for each and every degree of unsaturation, there will be a loss of 2 hydrogens. That, if you remember, consecutively keep on adding till you get this compound, till you get this. Now, if you see, I'm getting 3 pi bonds, so the degree of unsaturation is 3. So accordingly, I can have different structures. Combination of pi bonds, either 3 single double bonds, or 1 double bond and 1 triple bond makes it 3 pi bonds. Okay, actually, there will be one more thing also. Right now, degree of unsaturation, you can see that you are talking in terms of pi bonds, right? But what if what if I had C6 H12, right? So you see that definitely there is going to be one pi bond, because it should have been C6H14 for an alkene. So here you should have degree, I would say degree of unsaturation is 1. Degree of unsaturation, DOU, I call it. Okay, so DOU is 1, degree of unsaturation is 1, right? Now you can tell me that there can be a pi bond. Yes, definitely that's a possibility, no doubt about it. But right, please understand, either it can be one what is the double bond, or it can be a cyclic structure. C6H12, if you check, right, if you check for any of the cyclic structure people, right, if you take any one carbon atom, any random carbon atom in the ring, right, each of these carbon atoms will be attached to 2 hydrogens. Not only in this structure, same if I have cyclopropane, again each of the carbon atoms will have 2 hydrogen atoms in it. Each of these, this will have 2, this will have 2, right? So what do you mean by this is that when you have degree of unsaturation, okay, so when you have degree of unsaturation, that doesn't mean it's just going to be only double or triple bonds, right? It can be ring structures also. Okay, so let me give you a complete picture of this. Okay, fine, hope you remember what I'm trying to say. C6H12, either I can have hexene, right, or I can have cyclohexane. Again, you see that it is going to match the formula of when I have. So generally what I'm trying to tell you is that alkenes and cyclohexanes, it's not cyclohexane, cycloalkanes in general, right, any membered ring. So alkenes and cycloalkanes will have same molecular formula, and that's what I mentioned here. If you can understand, where is the types of isomerism, right? You can see I have mentioned here ring chain isomerism. That is exactly what I'm talking about, right? For the same molecular formula, you can write a straight chain compound, or you can write a ring structure. Just exactly what I told you here. C6H12, I can have a normal hexene, hexene with a double bond anywhere, or I can have cyclohexane. This is what is called as your ring chain isomerism. Okay, right? So let me crisply complete the points. Okay, so degree of unsaturation. When you find that the degree of unsaturation, or let me put it this way, right? So when you have a ring, right, now I'm talking about the degree of unsaturations. What are the values it can have? So when you have a ring, you have degree of unsaturation to be 1, right? So when you have a C double bond C, right, for each C double bond C, degree of unsaturation is 1. So if at all you have 2 double bonds, and degree of unsaturation is 2. Okay, say when I have a ring plus a C double bond C, you saw so many structures, right? When you named it in the ring itself, I can have a double bond, right? So those will have degree of unsaturations of 2. For ring, 1 unsaturation. For C double bond C, another unsaturation. So degree of unsaturation will become 2. Right. Say now, what is the last one? When you have a C triple bond C, each of these C triple bond Cs will have degree of unsaturation to be 2. Right. So you can understand, when you have degree of unsaturation to be 2, either you can have C triple bond C, right, or you can have a ring with a double bond. Both of them will have same degree of unsaturation. Means they will have same, almost, if you have same number of carbon atoms, they will have same formula, molecular formula. Okay, right? So I think I started with chain, but actually we have completed both chain as well as ring chain isomerisms. Both has been completed. Right? Both chain as well as ring chain has been completed. Pretty easy. Actually, we'll take more examples. Don't worry. Right? But what I'm trying to tell you, I hope you understand. Okay, so again, when I mean degree of unsaturation, what do you mean by that? It's going to talk about the number of pairs of hydrogens lost. Is it not? It is 1. That means from the alkanes formula, right, from the saturated compound, I remove 2 hydrogens, then you get degree of unsaturation to be 1. When you have degree of unsaturation to be 2, right? So what you understand is there are 2 pairs of hydrogens removed from the alkane structure. Okay, say now if I give you a compound, let me see if you can find the degree of unsaturation. Say if I give you C7H C7H8, right? Tell me what is the degree of unsaturation? Quick. I told you how to find it, right? When I have C7H8, what is the degree of unsaturation? Start with alkanes formula, normal alkane, it should have been what? And reduce 2 hydrogens.
4,
and
sir.
Yes, 4 is the answer. Right? So it should have, the alkanes formula should have been C7H16, CnH2n plus 2. Right? So 16 to 14, 14 to 12, 12 to 10, sorry. Right? 12 to 10 and 10 to 8. So how many? This 1, 2, 3, and 4. The obvious degree of unsaturation is 4. Again, I can have different combinations. How will you get 4? That if you for different combinations, it'll become a different isomer. Is it not? Because all of them will have same molecular formula. Say what can be the combinations? I can have 4 double bonds. I can have 2 triple bonds. I can have a ring also. So many things, so many possibilities are there for this particular structure, right? And all of them are going to be called as isomers. Okay, right? So hope you understood what you mean by ring chain isomerism. A lot of new things today. That is your degree of unsaturation. How do you find the degree of unsaturation? Right? All these things are going to be very helpful in doing the isomerism part. Even when you go for higher levels of organic chemistry, this will definitely be useful. Okay, right? So we'll take some more examples for this thing. Is that chain isomerism, and then we'll wind up.
I have a doubt.
Yeah, cannot tell me.
Why do we use degree of unsaturation, sir?
So that's what. No, if I ask you, right? If I ask you C7H8, I give you the formula, right? And I ask you to draw all the possible structures possible for this C7H8, right? So generally what people do is that they will see that there are 7 carbon atoms, right? And then they will eventually, or they what they generally do is they put 7 carbon atoms like this they will do, and they will try to fit the hydrogen somewhere, making it 8. That's a very tedious process, right? But if you know that there are going to be 4 degree of unsaturation, when you put this chain itself, you put 4 double bonds somewhere. So accordingly, you can fix the hydrogen. That is the easier process. I will understand what I'm trying to say.
Yes,
Right?
sir.
So this will be easier process. So if you calculate degree of unsaturation, the skeleton can be easily formed. The carbon skeleton can be easily formed. Then fitting hydrogen is very easy. Actually, you don't even have to fit the hydrogen. Is it not? Because you according to this double bond, triple bond, single bond, only the number of hydrogens is matched. Is it not? So you don't even have to fill the hydrogens if you know the degree of unsaturation, because it will automatically be taken care. The moment you fill the degree of unsaturation with double bonds or triple bonds, the hydrogen atoms are already taken care. That's the use of degree of unsaturation. Yes, understood?
Understood, sir.
Right? Okay, cool. So we'll just take, what is the time? Yeah, I'll just take 5 more minutes or even lesser. This is that. We'll just quickly have some examples for chain isomerism. Right. Okay. So let me take C6H14. I don't want to go to unsaturations because that will have so many other types also coming into this, right? So when I have C6H14, guys, this is normal alkane, hexane, right? One of the possible structure can be normal hexane, 6 carbon atoms. Yes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, 7 carbon atoms are there. Okay, 6 carbon atoms now. Normal hexane. Right. Now, if I want to write the chain isomer of this, what should I do? I have to make sure that in the main chain, I have only 5 carbon atoms. I mean, this is hex. I told you the chain isomers are going to differ only in the root word. So obviously I have to make now 5. Okay. Now, obviously I have to account for a methyl group somewhere. Say now I'll put a methyl group here. Right. Now, if I put a methyl group in this carbon atom, will it be same or different? Instead of methyl group putting here, if I put the methyl group here, will it be same or different?
It'll be the same, sir.
No. How it will be same? Say if you put the numbers 1, 2, 3, or again from that side 1, 2, 3. Right. So this will be what? This will be 2 methyl. If I put the methyl group here, it will become 3 methyl. What is the isomerism there? What is that?
Structural, sir.
Sorry.
Structural,
Yeah,
sir.
it's structural only. Under structural what? When you have 2 methyl pentane and 3 methyl pentane.
Positional, sir.
Exactly. Right. The moment you see there is a difference only in the numbers, I told you the previous one, right? That becomes a position isomer. But we are talking only about chain isomers here, right? So we'll not go into this. But again, in this itself, I can have one more coming. I can put a methyl group here, but that becomes a position isomer. Hope you everybody understood what I'm trying to say. Right, fine. Now you made it 5. Now you made pent. Let me check if I can go for 4. That is bute. Right. Say when I put bute, 4 carbon atoms. Right. Now I have to account for 2 methyl groups. Correct. Say now I can put 1 methyl group here, another methyl group here. That is one possibility. Right. Or I can have 1 methyl group here, another methyl group in the same carbon atom. Right. Again, what are these two? These two are what isomers?
Positional, sir.
Exactly. Again, you don't have to think. Everything else is same. Only the numbers are different. Here it will be 2, 3 dimethyl. It will be 2, 2 dimethyl here. That's the only difference. It will be 2, 2. There it will be 2, 3. Right. So these two are position isomers. Right. But these 3, or say these 3, or whatever it is, right? All of them will come under chain isomers. Right? Chain isomers, there is only one difference. One difference in the structural formula, and that will be in the root word of the compound. Number of carbon atoms in the main chain. That is what is going to change. Can I make it 3? We'll check. Right? You made it from 6 to 5, 5 to 4. If I make it just 3, right? You have to account for 3 methyl groups. Impossible. If you make 3 methyl groups, right, it will become another compound. If you want to check, you can check. Right. Say, for example, I add 1 methyl group here, another methyl group here, another methyl group here. Right? Don't you think this entirely become a main chain now? How many carbon atoms are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Again, it became pent. Right? So this and this compounds are similar. Right? So what I'm trying to tell you is, if you want to add methyl groups, right, you cannot add methyl group to the terminal positions. What are terminal positions here? This is the terminal position. This is the terminal position. You cannot add the methyl groups there. All you can add is in between the carbon atoms. Here, and all you can add, right? But not at the end. If you add it at the end, it will eventually become part of the main chain itself. Okay? Right? So these are the small things you have to understand. So we have finished 3 isomers, 3 isomerism: chain, ring chain, and position. Okay. Now, if I give you a question, right? If I give you a question, let me give you actually a question. What I'm going to give you is C5H12O. Okay. For this, I want to know all the possible structures for this compound. Tomorrow's first class, in tomorrow class, I will check. I'll ask you to open your videos and show me the notebook. Right? Position isomers, chain isomers. If at all you find you can have ring chain isomers, go for that also. But I don't think it's possible here. Why? because there is no degree of unsaturation. And degree of unsaturation is 0, but I am going to make it interesting. I'm going to put C5H10O. So that means you have a degree of unsaturation. I want all the possible structures for this particular molecular formula. Next class, I will check. Okay, ring isomers, position isomers, chain isomers, all these things, whatever comes to your mind, but make sure that nothing is redundant. What do you mean by redundant? Nothing is repeated. Don't tell me 10 structures are there. Out of that, say 4 are repeating. No, right? How will you avoid these things? After getting all the structures, write the names of all the structures. If you find that some of them, 2 of them or 3 of them having same number, same name, that means they're redundant. You have to cancel the other ones. Okay, so this is your homework.
I have a doubt.
Yeah.
Is there any formula or something, sir, to
No,
find out?
nothing. No formulas. You have to go by the structure, normal methods.
So
For
what is that O there, sir?
Oxygen.
Okay, sir.
Right, there is an oxygen atom. That's what made it. It can be an alcohol, right? Yeah, take only alcohol for now. Oh. Actually, you don't do it for C4H10. It's you do it for C5H12 only. It's better because when you have C5H10, right, you have an alcohol. That means that there's a degree of unsaturation. If you have C5H10, right, that means if I can have even C double bond work also coming to the picture. That is also a possibility. Is it not? If I have C5H10, because there's a double bond, right? But if it is C5H12, no degree of unsaturation, this is not possible. The only possibility is alcohol. The other possibility is ether. Now, ether we'll see later. For now, you concentrate only on alcohols and tell me what are all the possible structures. How many are getting? What are you getting? All these will tell me next class. Okay.
So I have a doubt.
Yeah.
So if the position of double bonds change, it's an isomer.
That is also position isomer. Yes, absolutely. Instead of but1-ene, if you put but2-ene, position isomers. Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
So bring all this. We'll see tomorrow. I think the time is also up. Right? Yeah, 8:05. Thank you, guys. We'll meet again tomorrow.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.